A single act of kindness turned into a life-changing moment. When Maria, a hardworking hotel cleaner, gathered the courage to ask Keanu Reeves for an autograph for her sick grandson, she never imagined what would happen next. Fired on the spot for breaking the rules, she walked away with nothing, except a promise kept. But when Keanu found out, everything changed. For 20 years, Maria had worked as a cleaner in this very hotel, silently wiping tables, sweeping floors, and ensuring that every event was flawless. She was invisible to the stars, just another uniform blending into the background. But tonight wasn't like the other nights. Tonight, she had one goal, one promise to keep. Her 9-year-old grandson, Thomas, was sick. He had spent weeks in a hospital bed, too weak to play like other kids. Movies were his escape, and Keanu Reeves, he was his hero. "Grandma, if you ever see him, will you get his autograph for me?" Maria wasn't the type to make empty promises, but when she looked into Thomas's hopeful eyes, she couldn't say no. She had to do this. And now, here she was, standing just a few steps away from Keanu Reeves himself. Her heart pounded. Her fingers tightened around the notebook in her apron pocket, the one Thomas had filled with drawings of his favorite movie characters. Neo, John Wick, Constantine. There was one empty page left. That space was meant for Keanu's signature. This was her moment. If she walked away now, she would break a promise she couldn't take back. She swallowed hard, steadied herself, and stepped forward. "Excuse me, Mr. Reeves." Her voice was soft, almost uncertain. "My grandson is your biggest fan. He's very sick. Could you sign this for him?" Keanu turned to her, his expression calm. He didn't look annoyed. He didn't dismiss her. Instead, his eyes softened. He glanced at the notebook she held out, then back at Maria. A small smile formed on his lips. "Of course," he said. "What's his name?" Maria's heart swelled. Relief, gratitude, maybe even disbelief. It all hit her at once. "Thomas," she whispered. Keanu took the notebook carefully, flipping through the pages, his brows lifted as he saw the drawings. "Wow," he said, genuinely impressed. "Thomas is really talented." Maria felt the sting of tears. He wasn't just signing a name. He cared. Keanu pulled out a pen and, with careful strokes, wrote, "To Thomas, keep dreaming big. With love, Keanu Reeves." Then, he handed the notebook back to her. "Tell Thomas he's amazing, and I hope he keeps drawing." Maria clutched the notebook to her chest. She had done it. She had kept her promise. But just as she turned to leave, a voice rang out, cold, sharp, unforgiving. "Maria, we need to talk, now." Her body stiffened. She knew that voice too well. Standing a few feet away, arms crossed, eyes filled with disapproval, was her supervisor, and in that moment, Maria had no idea that what had just happened would cost her everything. She had no idea that within minutes, she would be out of a job, fired, over an autograph. But what she also didn't know, what no one in that room knew, was that this was far from over. Because when Keanu Reeves found out what happened, he wasn't going to let it slide. And what came next? The entire world was about to witness it. The Grand Crystal Hotel was alive with glamour. Bright lights, luxury cars, and high-profile guests filled the night. Celebrities posed for cameras, their designer outfits shimmering under the flash. Reporters called out names, microphones ready to capture a few words from Hollywood's biggest stars. Inside, waiters carried trays of champagne, chefs plated gourmet dishes, and hotel staff moved discreetly, ensuring everything was perfect. For the wealthy and powerful, this was just another exclusive event. For Maria, it was another long shift. Dressed in her navy blue uniform, she moved through the back hallways of the hotel, her cleaning cart rolling beside her. The red carpet, the flashing cameras, the elegant conversations, none of that was for her. She wasn't meant to be seen or heard. Just another worker expected to blend into the background. But tonight, Maria's mind wasn't on work. It was somewhere else. Miles away in a hospital room, her grandson Thomas lay in bed. Too weak to play like other kids his age. He had spent weeks surrounded by white walls and beeping machines. his small body battling an illness that had stolen his energy but not his spirit. Movies were his escape. Action, adventure, heroes who fought against impossible odds. Those stories kept him going. And out of all the actors, Keanu Reeves was his favorite. Thomas had watched every movie Keanu had ever made. He had posters on his walls, drawings in his notebooks, and dreams of one day meeting his hero. One night, as Maria sat beside him, holding his hand, he looked up at her with tired but excited eyes. "Grandma, do you promise? If you ever meet him, will you ask for his autograph?" Maria hesitated. She didn't make promises easily. Life had taught her that too much could go wrong. But looking into Tomas's eyes, she couldn't say no. She took his small hand in hers, squeezed it gently, and did something she rarely did. She said yes, and tonight, fate had given her a chance to keep that promise. Maria stood just steps away from Keanu Reeves, the man her grandson admired more than anyone. She had seen countless celebrities at events like this. Many walked past the staff without a glance. Some smiled politely but never stopped. Others barely acknowledged the people working around them. But Keanu was different. He wasn't rushing. He wasn't brushing people aside. He took his time, engaged in conversations, and treated everyone around him with respect. Maria's fingers tightened around the notebook hidden in her pocket. This was it. If she let this moment slip, there wouldn't be another. She hesitated. What if someone stopped her? What if she got in trouble? But then she thought about Thomas, his tired eyes, his small hands clutching her arm in that hospital bed, his excitement at the thought of having his hero's autograph. Backing out wasn't an option. Maria took a deep breath, stepped forward and spoke. "Excuse me, Mr. Reeves." Her voice was steady, but her hands trembled slightly. "My grandson is your biggest fan. He's very sick. Could you sign this for him?" Keanu turned. No irritation, no impatience, just curiosity. Maria quickly explained, her words careful yet filled with emotion. She held out the notebook, hoping he would understand what this meant. Keanu didn't hesitate. He took the notebook and flipped through the pages. As he looked at the drawings, his brows lifted in genuine surprise. "These drawings, wow," he said, his voice filled with admiration. "Your grandson is really talented." Maria felt something tighten in her chest. He wasn't just signing a name and moving on, he was paying attention. He cared. She watched as he carefully wrote inside the notebook. "To Thomas, keep dreaming big, with love, Keanu Reeves." He handed the notebook back to her. His expression was warm, sincere. "Tell Thomas he's amazing, and I hope he keeps drawing." Maria clutched the notebook to her chest. Relief. Gratitude. She had done it. She had kept her word. But before she could even take a step back, the moment was shattered. A voice, cold, sharp, and unforgiving, cut through the air. "Maria, we need to talk, now." Her body stiffened. The warmth of the moment disappeared in an instant. She turned slowly. Her supervisor stood there, arms crossed, eyes filled with disapproval, and in that second Maria knew this wasn't over. "Maria, office, now." The words were cold, firm. Maria turned, her heart still racing from her interaction with Keanu Reeves. But the warmth she had felt just moments ago vanished the second she saw the look on her supervisor's face. Mr. Langley stood there, arms crossed, his expression unreadable. But his eyes told her everything. She followed him down the hallway, past the glitz and glamour of the gala, past waiters carrying trays of champagne, past the polished floors she had cleaned for nearly 2 decades. Then, they stepped into a dimly lit service corridor, away from the crowd. The walls were plain, the air felt heavy. Langley shut the door behind them and turned to face her. "What do you think you were doing?" His tone was sharp. Maria stood straight. She wasn't a child. She wasn't going to shrink under his glare. "I asked for an autograph," she said plainly. "It was for my grandson." Langley didn't blink. "I don't care." His voice was flat, emotionless. "You know the rules. Staff do not interact with guests." Maria's stomach twisted, but she kept her voice steady. "Sir, I have worked here for almost 20 years. I have never asked for anything, not once." Langley's face didn't change. It was just a signature, she continued, her voice calm but firm. I didn't bother him. I didn't cause a scene. I waited for the right moment, and he was happy to sign it. Langley sighed, shaking his head as if he had already made up his mind. That's not the point, Maria. She frowned. Then what is? The point, he said, his voice tightening, is that you broke policy. If I let this go, it sets a precedent. Staff will think they can approach guests whenever they want, and that is not how we run things here. Maria clenched her fists. I didn't do anything wrong, Langley's gaze hardened. Pack your things, you're fired. Maria's breath caught in her throat. Fired? Over this? Please, Mr. Langley. Her voice was calm, but there was an edge to it now. This job is all I have. I take care of my grandson. I can't lose this. You should have thought about that before breaking the rules. And just like that, it was over. No discussion, no warning, no second chance. Maria had spent years scrubbing floors, polishing silverware, and making sure every inch of this hotel was spotless. And for what? A moment of kindness, a simple autograph, and she was gone. Her career erased. Her stability shattered. All because she had dared to ask for a signature. Maria stepped outside, gripping the notebook tightly. The cold air hit her face, sharp and unforgiving. She had walked into that hotel as an employee. She was walking out as, what? Unemployed, punished for a harmless request, fired for showing kindness. Her fingers curled around the notebook, pressing it against her chest. Thomas would be thrilled when he saw Keanu's autograph. But how would she explain what happened? She had spent 2 decades working herself to the bone. Early mornings, late nights, holidays spent away from family, all for this job, and now, in a matter of minutes, it was gone. Inside, the music played on, glasses clinked, laughter echoed through the grand ballroom. For the guests, nothing had changed, but for Maria, everything had, and soon someone else was about to learn what had just happened. A young waiter weaved through the crowd, his movements rushed but careful. He wasn't supposed to leave his section, but he had seen what happened, and he knew one person needed to hear about it. He reached Keanu Reeves, who was deep in conversation with a director. The waiter hesitated for only a moment before stepping forward. Mr. Reeves, I need to tell you something. Keanu turned, his easygoing expression still in place. What is it? The waiter glanced around, making sure no one was paying attention. Then he lowered his voice. The cleaning lady, the one who asked for your autograph? They fired her. The change in Keanu's face was immediate. The warmth disappeared. His jaw tightened. What? His voice was calm, but there was an unmistakable edge to it. They fired her. Right after she spoke to you. Keanu's brows furrowed. For what? The waiter swallowed. For breaking the rules. They said staff aren't allowed to interact with guests. Keanu's eyes darkened. He set down his glass. She was just asking for an autograph for her grandson. I know, the waiter said quickly. It wasn't a big deal. She was polite. You didn't seem bothered. But the supervisor, he fired her on the spot. Keanu exhaled slowly, his fingers pressing against the table. He wasn't the type to cause a scene. He had spent years in Hollywood, navigating the industry without letting the power get to his head. But this wasn't something he could ignore. He shook his head. That's not right. The waiter nodded. It's not fair. Keanu agreed, but he wasn't about to just stand there and say it. He was going to do something about it. Keanu Reeves wasn't the kind of man to make a scene. He had built a career on humility, kindness, and respect. But tonight was different. He wasn't going to stand by and let this go. With steady, deliberate steps, he walked across the ballroom. The chatter softened. Eyes followed him. Keanu Reeves didn't move like this unless something serious was happening. He stopped in front of Mr. Langley, the hotel supervisor. Mr. Langley, Keanu said, his voice calm but firm, I heard you fired a woman for asking for an autograph. Langley straightened his posture, a tight smile forming on his lips. He wasn't expecting this conversation. Mr. Reeves, he started, keeping his voice professional. I assure you it was a matter of policy. Keanu didn't let him finish. Policy? His voice was sharper now. "You fired a woman who worked here for 20 years. A woman who dedicated her life to this place. And her crime? Asking for a signature?" Langley's polite smile wavered for a fraction of a second, but he quickly regained his composure. "We have to maintain professionalism. Staff are not allowed to approach guests." Keanu's eyes locked onto his. "And you think firing her was the right thing to do?" Silence. The people standing nearby had stopped their conversations. The music continued playing, but the room felt different now. People were listening, watching. Langley cleared his throat, still trying to maintain control. "Mr. Reeves, it's not about what I think. It's about company policy. If we allow one employee to do this, others might follow. We have to draw a line." Keanu exhaled, shaking his head. "You fired her over a moment of kindness," he said. His voice wasn't raised, but it carried weight. "She wasn't harassing a guest. She wasn't unprofessional. She was doing something good, and you punished her for it." Langley hesitated, his fingers adjusting the cuffs of his suit. "I understand your concerns, Mr. Reeves, but my decision stands." Keanu didn't argue. He didn't need to. Instead, he reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. Right there in front of Langley and everyone watching, he started typing. Langley's expression changed. "Mr. Reeves, may I ask what you're doing?" Keanu didn't answer. He finished typing, hit send, and looked up. "Then I guess I'll do something about it." Langley's jaw tightened. "Mr. Reeves, I don't think that's necessary." Keanu met his gaze. "We'll see." Less than a minute later, a new post hit social media, and within hours the internet exploded. The internet didn't just react, it erupted. Within minutes, Keanu Reeves' post had thousands of comments. Within hours, it had millions of shares. The story spread like wildfire. "Keanu Reeves stands up for hotel worker fired over autograph request. The hotel should be ashamed, firing a woman after 20 years for this? Justice for Maria trends worldwide?" People were furious. Social media was flooded with outrage. Tweets, posts, and videos called out the hotel. How could they fire a dedicated employee over something so small? Was this how they treated loyal workers? Customers started leaving bad reviews. Some threatened to cancel reservations. Others demanded an explanation. News outlets picked up the story. Headlines plastered across websites and TV screens. Hollywood hotel faces backlash after firing longtime employee. Keanu Reeves calls out hotel for unfair termination. Social media demands action. Will the hotel respond? The pressure was unbearable. Inside the Grand Crystal Hotel, executives scrambled. Meetings were held. PR teams panicked. This wasn't just bad press. It was a disaster. Then, Maria's phone rang. She frowned at the unknown number before answering. "Maria, it's Mr. Langley." Her grip tightened on the phone. She didn't say a word. A pause. Then his tone softened. "Careful. We made a mistake. We want you to come back." Maria blinked. "What?" "We acted too hastily," he continued. "We'd like to offer your position back, and compensation." Maria closed her eyes. This wasn't an apology. This wasn't about fairness. This was damage control. Maria stepped back into the Grand Crystal Hotel, the place she had spent decades working. But this time, it felt different. She had left in silence, humiliated and heartbroken. Now, as she walked through the doors, something unexpected happened. A pause. Staff, the guests, they clapped for her. She froze, confused. She had spent years being invisible here. No one had ever paid her much attention. But now, people were watching her. Not as a worker, but as someone who had stood for something. Then, through the crowd, Keanu Reeves stepped forward. His expression was warm, kind, genuine. He stopped in front of her, nodding slightly. "Welcome back, Maria." Her throat tightened. Tears burned at the corners of her eyes, but she blinked them away. "Mr. Reeves?" Her voice shook slightly. "I don't know how to thank you." Keanu smiled. "Then don't." He reached into his pocket and pulled out an envelope. He handed it to her. She looked at him, then down at the envelope. Slowly, she opened it. Inside was a check. A big one. She gasped. This is too much. Keanu shook his head. It's for Thomas's medical bills. Anything he needs. Maria's hands trembled. This wasn't just money. This was security. This was hope. Keanu wasn't finished. He reached into his jacket and pulled out another small envelope. "And I have one more thing," he said. Maria opened it and found 2 VIP tickets inside. "I'd love for you and Thomas to come to my next movie premiere," Keanu said, smiling. Maria pressed the tickets against her chest, overwhelmed. She had walked into that hotel that night as just a cleaner. She was walking out as something more. Because sometimes, kindness changes everything.